The day the dragon arrived, the sky over the settlement looked normal. People walked around doing their daily tasks, and nothing suggested that their lives were about to change. But far out in the distance, a strange sound echoed across the plain. At first, nobody paid attention. Sounds came and went in that region. Wind, machines, vehicles passing nearby. But slowly the sound grew louder, heavier, almost like the sky itself was shaking. A few people stepped outside and looked upward. At first they saw nothing. Then a dark shape appeared among the clouds. It moved slowly, almost painfully, as if whatever it was struggled to hold itself in the air. The shape dipped lower and lower until everyone could see it clearly. It looked like a creature from an old story, ancient and worn but powerful. It was long, wide-winged, with scales that looked cracked and faded. Some parts of its body seemed burned or damaged. It was not beautiful. It was not majestic. It looked old and tired, and still somehow dangerous at the same time. People screamed and ran inside. Some dropped what they were holding. Others rushed to call for help. The settlement had never seen anything like this. The dragon, if that was truly what it was, crashed into the ground not far from the storage area. The earth shook with a heavy thud. Dust rose high into the air, covering everything in a light gray cloud. Soldiers arrived first. They surrounded the creature with caution. None of them had ever faced something like this. They held their weapons tight, but did not fire. The creature lay still for a moment, its large chest rising and falling slowly. It looked exhausted, hurt, and maybe very hungry. No one dared to go close. More people gathered, but they stayed far behind the soldiers. They whispered among themselves. Many believed the creature would destroy the settlement if it woke fully. Some thought it was already dying. Others only saw its ugly appearance and felt fear grow inside them. When scientists arrived, they examined the creature from a distance. They described it as a type of alien organism unknown to humans. They pointed out the cracked scales, the broken horn, the old scars that ran across its body. They noted the heavy breathing and unstable heartbeat. Everyone listened to them, hoping for an answer. But after hours of study, the officials gave a simple conclusion. The creature was too old, too damaged, too dangerous. It held no value for research or cooperation. They decided it should be removed before it caused harm. Word spread quickly. People nodded when they heard the decision. Many felt relieved. They believed they were safer if the creature was gone. No one stepped up to argue. No one asked what the creature might be going through. No one wondered how something so old and wounded ended up falling from the sky. They only saw fear and danger. The soldiers chained the creature while it was still weak. The metal rings around its legs and neck looked harsh and painful, but they acted fast because they did not want to take risks. When the creature began to move slightly, the soldiers stepped back in alarm. But it only shifted in discomfort, lifting its head a little before lowering it again. Its eyes opened slowly, revealing a deep, tired gaze. For a moment, it looked directly at the crowd, and the people stepped back as if the creature had threatened them. Even though it did not move further, the creature gave a low rumbling sound. It did not sound like anger or rage. It sounded more like hunger, or maybe fear, but no one tried to understand it. Soon the area was cleared and fenced. The officials left guards behind and told them to wait for the disposal unit that would arrive the next day. Night fell. The settlement went quiet but uneasy. People slept with the lights on. Children asked questions their parents could not answer. What was the creature? Why did it fall? What did it want? But parents simply told them to stay away and forget about it. Inside the fenced area, the dragon tried to pull itself up. The chains tightened painfully. Its old bones creaked with every movement. It tried to lift its wings, but they were too damaged to rise fully. The creature looked toward the settlement lights with an expression that almost seemed lonely. Maybe it heard the voices earlier. Maybe it understood the fear directed at it. Or maybe it simply knew it was alone in a world that did not want it. Hours passed. At one point, the creature made a deep sound again. A guard got startled and pointed a weapon toward it, but the creature did nothing aggressive. It only shifted again, as if its own weight hurt it. By early morning, the news had reached different research stations. Most reacted the same way the settlement did. They agreed the creature was too risky, too weak, and too unpredictable. They suggested completing the removal quickly, but one person who received the report did not react like the others. A xenobiologist who worked on distant ecosystems felt something unusual in the description. The details did not add up for her. An old damaged creature traveling so far from its home, collapsing from exhaustion, and showing no clear violent intention, sounded like an animal in distress, not a monster. She requested permission to observe the creature before it was removed. Her request was approved, just because the officials believed nothing she found would matter anyway. She traveled to the settlement the same morning. When she entered the fenced area, the guards warned her to be careful. She nodded and walked closer than anyone had dared. Up close, the creature looked even more worn and tragic. Its scales had lost color. Its wings had torn edges. One of its eyes looked clouded and tired. Its breaths came slow and heavy. Its ribs showed through some parts of its body, revealing it had not eaten properly for a long time. The xenobiologist watched silently. She did not speak or touch it. She simply studied how it moved when it sensed her presence. The creature lifted its head slightly, but did not growl or show anger. Instead, its breathing changed, almost like it was alert, but not hostile. She noticed its claws digging gently into the ground, not in a threatening way, but like it was struggling to hold itself steady. She observed its tail twitch, not to attack, but to balance. She saw how its nostrils widened as it breathed in her scent. Trying to understand her, rather than intimidate her. She wrote down her observations. She explained that the creature's earlier behavior, which people thought was rage, was actually panic from injury. She reported that its so-called aggressive breathing was simply a sign of hunger and exhaustion. Her notes suggested the creature might be intelligent, capable of communication, or at least capable of understanding simple intentions. But when she sent her report to the officials, they dismissed it. They said her findings were emotional rather than logical. They did not want to risk the safety of the settlement on what they called a fragile theory. The disposal unit was still scheduled to arrive. She felt frustrated. She asked for more time but received no support. The settlement leaders agreed with the officials. The creature was old, ugly, and dangerous. That was enough reason for them, but she could not ignore what she had seen. So she returned to the creature again and again throughout the day. Each time she observed new details. The creature tried to communicate through simple movements. It responded differently when she approached compared to when guards approached. It watched her carefully, but without hostility. It even lowered its head slightly when she stepped closer, almost like a gesture of acceptance. By evening, she knew something others refused to see. The creature was not a threat. It was misunderstood. It was scared. It was in pain. And worst of all, it had been rejected by everyone the moment they looked at it. The officials prepared for the next morning. The guards tightened the chains. People felt satisfied that the creature would soon be gone. But the xenobiologist stood near the fence long after everyone went home. She knew the story was not finished. Something about the creature felt important. Something about its arrival did not feel random. She believed that what happened after being rejected would matter far more than what happened before. She looked at the creature one last time that night. Its tired eyes opened and met hers. And in that moment, She felt a small spark of understanding pass between two beings who were both alone in their own ways. She knew she had to find a way to change what everyone else had already decided. And this was only the beginning of everything that would happen next. The next morning began with a cold wind moving across the settlement. Most people were awake before sunrise because they wanted the creature gone. The fear from yesterday had not faded. If anything, it had grown. Some people believed the creature would break its chains and attack at any moment. Others thought keeping it alive for another day was a mistake. Everyone waited for the disposal unit to arrive so they could return to normal life, but the xenobiologist did not share their feelings. She arrived even earlier than the guards. She walked quietly toward the fenced area, carrying her notes and a small scanner. When she reached the gate, the two guards looked confused, but they let her inside since she had permission for observation until the disposal team came. She moved closer to the creature. It lay curled against the ground, its breathing slow and shallow. A thin layer of dust had settled across its scales during the night. The creature looked weaker than before, almost like the simple act of surviving the night had drained what little strength it had left. When she stepped onto the gravel, its ears twitched slightly. It recognized the sound of her footsteps. Slowly, its eye opened. It did not roar. It did not pull on the chains. It just watched her with that same tired, curious look. She whispered a soft greeting, not because she expected it to understand, but because she wanted the creature to hear a voice that wasn't filled with fear or anger. She knelt by the fence and scanned its injuries. The device showed broken scales, large bruises, and signs of starvation. Almost everything confirmed what she already believed. The creature wasn't aggressive. It was hurt. She looked up from the scanner and studied its face. The dragon blinked slowly, like it wanted to stay awake, but didn't have the strength. She noticed how thin it looked under the heavy scales. No creature could behave properly in such a state. It made her sigh, frustrated that others refused to see what she saw so clearly. One of the guards approached her cautiously. He told her the disposal unit was on its way and would arrive within a couple of hours. He said she should keep her distance because the creature had made some noises during the night that scared the patrol. She nodded, but she knew exactly why the creature made those sounds. It was uncomfortable, starving, and in pain. It needed help, not fear. Still, she kept studying it. She tried making soft clinking sounds with a metal pen to see if the creature responded. It turned its head slightly, following the noise. It understood she was trying to communicate. That alone was proof enough for her that this creature wasn't mindless or wild. It had awareness. It had intelligence. But nobody else cared. She sat in front of it for a long time. The creature blinked slower and slower. At one point, its eye closed completely. She wasn't sure if it fell asleep or simply gave up on staying awake. She felt a small twist in her heart at the thought that the creature might not survive long enough for anyone to understand the truth. She stood up and walked out of the fenced area. She needed to convince anyone, before it was too late. She found the settlement leader standing near the communication room, speaking with someone from the main station. When he finished, she walked over and tried once again to explain everything she had discovered. She described the creature's behavior in detail. She shared her scans and notes. She explained the signs of fear instead of aggression. She explained how even its breathing patterns showed distress rather than rage. The leader listened, but she could tell he wasn't convinced. He said the settlement couldn't take risks with something so large and unpredictable. He repeated the same argument as everyone else. Old, damaged, dangerous. It was easier for them to remove the creature than to understand it. She didn't give up. She tried speaking to the guards, to the workers, to anyone who had authority. But fear was stronger than logic. Every single one of them believed the creature would eventually attack. They didn't want to hear otherwise. When she returned to the fenced area, she saw something that made her freeze. The creature was trying to move again. It pushed its front legs forward with great effort. The chains tightened painfully around its limbs, but it kept trying. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't pulling toward the settlement. It was trying to reach the small puddle of water forming near the broken pipe dot. It was thirsty. The xenobiologist hurried toward the guards and asked if they could loosen the chains or at least bring water. The guards shook their heads. Their orders were to keep the creature immobile. One of them even said giving water to a dangerous beast didn't make sense. She took a deep breath because she wanted to argue, but knew they wouldn't listen. So she turned back to the fence and watched helplessly as the creature finally gave up trying to reach the puddle. It lowered its head and lay still again, looking even weaker than before. The sight bothered her deeply. She could not help wondering how many times this creature had been rejected before reaching this settlement. How many worlds had turned it away simply because it looked frightening? What kind of life had it lived to be so scarred, so tired and so alone? But she also wondered something else. Why had it come here? Why had an injured creature flown across half the sky to reach humans instead of fleeing from them? Maybe it thought humans were different. Maybe it believed humans might help. That thought made her feel even more responsible. She sat near the creature again, ignoring the guard's warnings to keep her distance. She watched the creature breathing. Every inhale looked like a silent struggle. Every exhale sounded like a sigh of defeat. She finally said softly that she wished she could help it before anything worse happened. The creature opened its eye again. For a moment, it seemed like it understood her tone, even if it didn't know her words. It lifted its head slightly, as if acknowledging her. She felt a connection again, like the night before. It wasn't much, but it was real enough for her to know she was right. The sun was rising higher when the sound of machines came from the distance. The disposal team was finally arriving. Large vehicles approached, each carrying equipment designed to trap or neutralize dangerous creatures. Everyone stepped back as they moved toward the fenced area. The xenobiologist felt panic rise inside her. She wasn't usually emotional, but this situation wasn't normal. She didn't want the creature to be taken away before anyone understood its true nature. She tried one final time to speak with the team leader. She explained everything, but he gave her the same answer she had heard all day. Orders were orders. There was no time for debates. The team prepared the equipment. Metal cables, shock rods, restraint bars. They planned to approach carefully and force the creature into a containment cage. The guards looked nervous. Some settlement workers stepped far back, not wanting to see what would happen. The creature sensed the movement even before the humans reached the fence. It struggled weakly, not out of aggression, but out of fear. It tried lifting its wings, but they barely moved. Its breaths became fast and uneven. It was terrified, and anyone looking closely could see that. But fear can be misunderstood. The team saw the faster breathing and believed it meant the creature was preparing to attack. The xenobiologist stepped forward and yelled for them to stop, but nobody listened. She tried moving between them and the creature, but two guards grabbed her arms gently and pulled her aside. They told her it was for her own safety. She could only watch as the team approached the animal. The creature pushed itself backwards, scraping its scales on the ground. The chains rattled loudly. It lifted its head and made a low, trembling sound. Not angry, not violent, afraid. For a moment the team hesitated because they expected a roar. They expected fire or rage or something terrifying. But instead, all they saw was a creature shaking with fear. The xenobiologist shouted that this was the proof they needed, but her voice was drowned out by the noise of the equipment. The creature shut its eyes as if accepting whatever came next. But before the team could take another step, a sudden gust of wind blew across the area. The sky, which had been clear just moments before, darkened unexpectedly. Clouds formed quickly, gathering above the settlement in a way that felt unnatural. A loud rumble rolled across the sky. People turned around in shock. The weather had changed too fast that the wind struck again, stronger this time. Loose metal sheets rattled. Dust flew into the air. Something strange was happening, and in that moment of confusion, the xenobiologist noticed something the others didn't. The creature's scales flickered faintly, reflecting the sudden shift in the wind. It wasn't doing anything aggressive, but it reacted to the change in the atmosphere before anyone else. The sudden weather shift wasn't random. Something else was coming, and whatever was heading toward the settlement would reveal that the creature everyone rejected had a far bigger story behind its arrival than anyone realized. The wind grew stronger until it ripped through the settlement like an invisible force. People covered their faces as dust and tiny stones flew into the air. Workers grabbed anything that looked light enough to blow away. The guards tightened their hands around their weapons, not because they wanted to use them, but because they needed something to hold on to. The disposal team paused their approach toward the creature. Even they could tell something strange was happening. The sky changed too suddenly, too sharply. What had been a clear morning was now dark, as if evening had fallen far too early. Thick clouds spun across each other in a slow, frightening dance. The xenobiologist watched the creature carefully. It wasn't fighting. It wasn't angry. It was responding to something in the air that humans couldn't sense. Its scales flickered faintly again, catching the strange shift in pressure. It lifted its head slightly, even though its body still looked weak. Its eyes scanned the sky as if it recognized the change. Before anyone could ask questions, a heavy crack of thunder echoed across the settlement. It didn't sound natural. It sounded like something breaking, something falling, something alive and enormous. The ground shook for a moment. A few people stumbled. A metal sheet slammed against a wall with a loud clang. The leader of the disposal team raised his hand and shouted for everyone to take position. He wanted to continue with the creature, but his voice wavered because even he understood this was not the right moment. The strange storm was growing too fast. The xenobiologist sensed the fear in everyone. She also sensed something else. Somewhere deep inside, she knew the creature wasn't causing the weather shift. But she also knew the creature understood it. She stepped closer to the fence again. The guards didn't stop her this time because they were too distracted looking at the sky. Another crack of thunder hit, louder than before. The clouds twisted into a spiral. People screamed. Someone shouted that another object was falling from the sky. Everyone looked up, and sure enough, a new dark shape appeared among the spinning clouds. For a moment, it looked like a giant shadow with no form. Then slowly its outline sharpened. Wings, a tail, a massive body. It was another dragon-like creature, but not old or weak like the one on the ground. This one looked strong, powerful, and very much alive. It descended quickly, cutting through the wind as if it controlled the storm itself. People panicked. Soldiers pointed their weapons. Workers ran in all directions. The disposal team froze, unsure of what they were supposed to do now. They had never trained for a situation like this. The xenobiologist stood still, shock running through her body. She realized the truth. The injured creature had not come here by accident. It had been chased or followed. This new arrival was not a friend. The way it flew, the way it tilted its body, the way it scanned the ground, all of it showed an intention that was not gentle. The injured creature on the ground sensed it too. It struggled, pulling harder on its chains. Not to escape. Not to attack the humans. but to prepare itself for whatever was coming. Fear and determination flashed across its tired eyes. The new dragon circled the settlement once, powerful wings sending gusts of wind in every direction. Roofs shook. Dust storms rose from the ground. It finally hovered above the fenced area, its shadow covering everyone below. Then it let out a sound, a deep, vibrating roar that hit the ground like a physical wave. People dropped to their knees from the force. Even the guards stumbled. The xenobiologist grabbed the fence to keep herself from falling. The injured creature reacted instantly. It lifted its head high and answered with a sound of its own. But this sound was nothing like the roar above. It was softer, deeper, filled with pain, fear, and something that felt like regret. The two creatures recognized each other. For a moment, the sky went silent. The wind paused as if the world held its breath. Then the creature above folded its wings and dropped straight down, landing with a heavy crash inside the fenced area. Metal shuddered. Dust exploded into the air. The injured creature dragged itself backward, shaking, not ready, but trying anyway. People screamed. Soldiers ran for cover. One shouted for everyone to fall back. The disposal team leader ordered a retreat. No one wanted to be near two giant creatures locked in what looked like a long, unfinished conflict. The xenobiologist didn't move. She couldn't. Her feet felt stuck to the ground. She could only watch as the new dragon lowered its head and bared its teeth at the injured one. The injured creature let out a soft rumble. It wasn't a threat. It sounded almost like a plea, as if it was saying something humans could not understand. The new dragon stepped forward, dragging deep marks into the ground with its claws. Its wings lifted slightly, ready for attack. Its eyes focused sharply on the weak creature before it. The xenobiologist felt a sharp ache in her chest. This was no ordinary visitor. This was a hunter, a rival, or something even more complicated. The injured creature made one last attempt to pull itself free, but the chains held it down. It couldn't defend itself. It could barely move. The xenobiologist knew she had only seconds to act. If she stayed silent, the stronger dragon would attack the weaker one, and the humans might be caught in the middle. She looked at the guards. They looked terrified. She looked at the disposal team. They were backing away uselessly. She looked at the settlement leader. He was shouting orders no one could follow. She realized no one would help. No one understood what was happening except her. And she had no weapons, no strength, no tools. Only her voice. Only her belief that the injured creature wasn't dangerous. She stepped forward. The guards shouted for her to stop. But she didn't. She walked past them without hesitation. The xenobiologist stepped inside the fence again. Dust swirled around her. Wind tore at her coat. The stronger dragon turned its head toward her, glaring with burning eyes. She felt fear hit her hard. Her heartbeat hammered in her ears. Her legs shook. She took a deep breath anyway and kept walking. She stood between the two creatures. The guard screamed her name. Someone begged her to come back, but she didn't move. The stronger dragon growled, low and threatening. She raised her hands, showing they were empty. She spoke in a steady voice, even though she felt like her heart might burst. She told it she meant no harm. She told it to stop. She told it she understood nothing about their world, but understood fear, pain, and endings. The stronger creature took a step forward. The ground trembled beneath its weight. The xenobiologist raised her voice higher. She tried to sound confident. She tried to make her body look unafraid, even though every part of her wanted to run. She pointed at the injured creature. She said it was weak, exhausted, starving. She said harming it would bring nothing but more suffering. Her voice cracked, but she kept going. She said the creature had done nothing wrong since it arrived. Not one act of aggression. The stronger dragon lowered its head, eyes narrowing. Its wings spread wider. Its teeth gleamed. The xenobiologist refused to step back. Something in her voice, or maybe something in the air, made the stronger creature hesitate. It blinked once, slowly. It tilted its head slightly, confused. It wasn't used to a human standing in its way. It wasn't used to anyone stepping between it and its target. The injured creature lifted its head again. A soft sound escaped its throat. Not fear, not pain. Something else. Something that sounded almost like gratitude. The moment stretched. No one breathed. No one dared move. Then the sky exploded with a new wave of thunder. A massive flash of light split the clouds. The wind smashed into the ground like a falling wall. Everyone shielded their faces except the two creatures. The stronger dragon jerked its head upward and let out a warning sound. It sensed something else approaching. Something even bigger. The injured creature looked terrified. And suddenly the humans understood. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of something much more dangerous. Something that would force everyone, human and creature alike, to face the truth of why the injured dragon had come to them in the first place. The sky stayed dark long after the flash of light faded. People waited for the next sound to shake the ground again, but nothing came. Instead, a heavy stillness filled the settlement. Every person looked up, every guard froze, every worker held their breath. Even the stronger dragon stopped moving for a moment, lowering its wings slightly as if it was listening to something far away. The xenobiologist stood between the two creatures, trying to understand what was happening. Her hands were still raised, her heart still racing, but she could tell the danger had changed direction. The tension in the air wasn't coming from the stronger dragon anymore. It was coming from the sky itself. A deep rumble rolled across the clouds. It didn't sound like thunder anymore. It sounded like something large moving, something alive, something that made even the stronger dragon shift nervously. The xenobiologist felt a cold shiver run down her back. She looked at the injured creature. Its eyes were wide, full of fear, but also something deeper recognition. Whatever was coming, the creature had seen it before, and it wanted no part of it. The stronger dragon took a step back. For the first time since it arrived, it didn't look confident. It didn't look ready to attack. It looked unsure. Then the clouds split open. A massive shape appeared, bigger than anything the settlement had ever seen. It wasn't just another dragon. This one looked ancient, powerful, and fully in control of the storm. Its wings were wide enough to block the sun entirely. Lightning crawled across its scales like they were part of the sky. Every beat of its wings sent shockwaves through the air. People screamed and ran for cover. Some dropped to the ground. Others covered their ears. Even the guards, who were trained to handle threats, didn't know what to do. The xenobiologist felt her breath stop. She couldn't look away. The injured creature curled in fear, shaking from head to tail. The stronger dragon lowered its head submissively, as if acknowledging the presence of something far above its rank. The giant creature descended slowly, circling the settlement once. Its movements were smoother than the wind itself. When it finally landed outside the fenced area, the ground cracked under its weight. Trees bent from the force of the landing. Dust spread across the area like a wave. For several moments, no one moved. No one even dared to make a sound. The xenobiologist understood something important. This new arrival was no hunter. It wasn't here to fight or chase. It was here to judge. The injured creature had not just escaped an enemy. It had escaped a guardian, a leader, or something with authority in its world. The giant creature lowered its head and looked at the injured one. Its voice rumbled like distant thunder. The injured creature responded weakly, making a soft sound that broke the xenobiologist's heart. It sounded like a creature accepting blame, not defending itself. The stronger dragon stepped aside, making room. It no longer seemed like the enemy. It looked more like an enforcer, following orders from something above it. The xenobiologist tried to understand their body language. She studied animals her whole life, and now she needed that experience more than ever. She noticed the injured creature kept lowering its head. The stronger one kept glancing at the giant creature as if seeking approval. The giant creature wasn't angry. It looked disappointed, maybe even saddened. She realized the injured creature wasn't a rebel or a monster. It might have abandoned its position or left its group for a reason. It didn't matter why. All that mattered was that it had gone somewhere it shouldn't have gone. And now its own species had come for it. The giant creature slowly turned its attention to the humans. Its eyes were bright, sharp, intelligent. It studied them in silence. People backed away, terrified. Some begged for shelter. Others hid behind vehicles. The xenobiologist didn't move. She stayed in place, still standing between the injured creature and whatever would come next. She wasn't foolish. She knew she couldn't stop a creature that size. But she also knew she couldn't let fear make her step aside. The giant creature lowered its massive head toward her. The wind from its breath pushed her hair back. She felt like a tiny insect standing before a mountain. But she lifted her chin and stood firm. She spoke in a steady voice. She told the giant creature the injured one was hurt, starving, exhausted. She explained that humans had not harmed it, only restrained it out of fear. She said it had shown no anger toward them. She said they misunderstood it. The giant creature blinked slowly, watching her closely. Its huge eye reflected her small figure. It looked curious and surprised. Humans had probably never spoken to it before. Then something unexpected happened. The injured creature made a weak sound, not to the giant creature, but to the xenobiologist. She turned and saw it looking at her with a soft expression, as if trying to tell her something important. The stronger dragon watched silently. The giant creature lifted its head and looked between the humans and the injured one. It seemed to realize something. The xenobiologist was not its enemy. The humans were not hunters. The injured creature had found something here, safety or help, that it couldn't find in its own world. The giant creature made a deep rumbling sound that shook the ground, but this time it didn't feel threatening. The stronger dragon responded with a short call, like acknowledging an order. Then the most surprising thing happened. The giant creature extended one of its claws toward the injured one. Everyone expected it to grab the creature and drag it away. But instead, it gently tapped the broken chains. A small spark of energy passed through them. The metal softened and fell apart. The xenobiologist gasped. The injured creature raised its head slowly. It was finally free. The humans stared in confusion. No one understood why a creature so powerful would free another instead of punishing it. But the xenobiologist understood. The giant creature had judged the humans, and it had decided they meant no harm. Or maybe it saw something else, kindness, patience, or something the injured creature needed. The giant creature stepped back, giving the injured one space. The stronger dragon also moved aside, lowering its wings respectfully. The injured creature slowly stood, trembling from weakness. It looked at the xenobiologist once more. For a moment, the entire world felt still. She could feel the gratitude in its eyes. A creature that powerful didn't need words to express something that deep. The giant creature made another rumble. It seemed like a farewell call, or a warning. Then it spread its massive wings. The wind hit the settlement so strongly that people had to shield their faces again. The stronger dragon followed closely behind. The two creatures rose into the sky, circling once before disappearing into the clouds. The injured creature turned to look at the sky. It could follow them. It was free now, but it didn't move. It stayed on the ground near the xenobiologist. It didn't have the strength to fly, and even if it did, something in its eyes showed it didn't want to leave just yet. The humans slowly approached, stunned by everything they had witnessed. The fear that once controlled them felt different now. They looked at the injured creature with disbelief, curiosity, and maybe even respect. The xenobiologist stepped closer to it and placed her hand gently on its side. For the first time since it arrived, the injured creature relaxed. Its breathing slowed. Its body loosened. It leaned slightly toward her touch, showing trust. The settlement leader walked closer, confused but calmer than before. The guards lowered their weapons. Workers peeked from behind vehicles. Everyone had seen the same thing. A creature everyone thought was dangerous and violent had been judged by beings far greater than humans, and those beings had not harmed it. The xenobiologist knew this moment changed everything. The injured creature wasn't a threat. It was a survivor, a guardian, a creature with a story humans had only just begun to understand. And what happened next would change the relationship between humans and the unknown forever. The days after the great storm changed everything for the old alien dragon and for the people living near the research station. Before that day, most people had only seen the creature through fear. They judged it by its size, its scars, and its history. They called it dangerous, useless, and out of control. But the storm had revealed something very different. It had shown the side of the dragon no one expected, a side that surprised even those who had worked with strange creatures for years. After the storm ended, people slowly came out of shelters and damaged buildings to see what had happened. Many stood in silence as they watched the dragon sitting calmly in the broken yard of the facility. The ground around it was cracked, and fallen metal beams were scattered everywhere. But the creature did not look wild anymore. Instead, it seemed tired, almost peaceful, like it had done something important and now simply wanted to rest. The xenobiologist who had believed in the dragon from the beginning stood a few steps away, gently observing it. She did not try to go too close, because she knew the creature needed space after what it had gone through. But she also sensed something different. The dragon was no longer acting like a confused, lost animal. Its eyes followed people with a new kind of awareness, and every time someone approached too fast, it simply lowered its head instead of reacting with fear or defense. In the following hours, rescue teams arrived to check the damage. When they saw the large metal frame that had fallen during the storm, they realized how many people had stood right in its path. If the dragon had not blocked it with its body, several lives could have been lost. The teams looked at the creature with new respect. Some even whispered that they had been wrong about calling it dangerous. Word spread fast. Within a day, news crews, scientists, and officials came to the damaged yard to see the dragon that had saved people instead of harming them. The creature remained calm, even when drones flew nearby. It no longer pulled at chains or roared in fear. It simply watched everyone, as if it understood that its actions during the storm had changed its fate. The officials who had once ordered the dragon to be removed now held long meetings, trying to decide what should happen next. Many of them were confused because the creature's behavior did not match their reports. They had believed it was too old, too aggressive, and too unpredictable. But now they had seen something that challenged their assumptions. If the dragon could protect humans, maybe it was not a threat at all. Meanwhile, the xenobiologist continued spending time with it. She brought it water, food, and proper care. She noticed that the creature responded not just to the food, but to the gentle tone in her voice. It followed her movements, leaned slightly forward when she talked softly, and even made low sounds that almost resembled attempts at communication. She realized the dragon was not simply reacting to instinct. It was trying to connect. As days passed, the research station worked quickly to create a better space for the creature. They replaced the heavy chains with stronger, but more comfortable restraints, not to hold it captive, but to keep it safe while repairs were made. They also built an open area with soft ground, so the dragon could rest without injuring old scars. For the first time since its arrival, the creature had a place where it did not feel threatened. People who had once stayed far away now felt curious. Workers approached slowly, offering food or simply watching from a distance. Some even smiled when the dragon made soft sounds in return. Children from the nearby settlement begged their parents to let them see the storm hero, as many had started calling it. Of course, only trained staff were allowed near, but the shift in attitude was impossible to ignore. The dragon's body healed slowly. Its largest scars remained, reminders of battles fought long before it reached Earth. But its movements became smoother, less painful. It ate better, slept better, and reacted more calmly to new faces. The xenobiologist often sat beside it, writing notes while the creature rested. She had grown attached to it in a way no one expected. She saw it not as a beast, but as a misunderstood traveler who had never been given a chance. Over the next few weeks, more discoveries were made. Scientists studying its biology found patterns in its behavior that matched guardian creatures from other documented species. The dragon was part of a lineage known to protect rather than attack. The scars on its body were not signs of wildness, but proof of battles fought to defend others. This revelation shocked many officials who had once pushed for its destruction. With new understanding came new plans. A committee was formed to discuss how the dragon could be trained safely, not as a weapon, but as a partner in emergency situations. The idea sounded unbelievable at first, but the storm had already shown what the creature was capable of. If it could protect people once, maybe it could do it again in controlled missions. Training began slowly. The xenobiologist guided the team, using calm gestures and simple signals. The dragon responded well. It learned to move to certain spots when shown a light signal. It learned to stay still when a whistle sounded. Over time, it even understood that rescuers carrying colored flags were friendly. These may have seemed like small steps, but they were important signs that the creature could work with humans. Months passed, and the dragon became a familiar part of the region. People grew used to seeing it being gently trained or resting in the new open habitat built, especially for it. The fear that had once surrounded it slowly faded. In place of fear came curiosity, respect, and even admiration. One day, a call came from a nearby mountain village. Heavy rain had triggered a landslide, trapping several families. Roads were blocked, and machines could not reach the area. A rescue team prepared to go on foot, but conditions were risky. Someone suggested a bold idea: take the dragon along. At first, everyone hesitated. They did not want to push the creature into danger or cause panic. But the xenobiologist stepped forward and explained that the dragon had already shown its natural instinct to protect. With proper guidance, it could help clear paths and carry supplies. After a long discussion, they decided to try. When the creature arrived at the site with the team, the villagers were scared, but that fear did not last long. The dragon began clearing fallen trees with its powerful tail, pushing heavy rocks aside with careful movements. It walked slowly behind the rescue workers, ensuring no debris fell on them. Its presence made the team feel safer, not threatened. By evening, many people had been safely evacuated. The villagers watched in awe as the old alien dragon carefully lowered a group of children it had carried on its back during the rescue. That moment became one of the most talked about scenes across the region. News channels broadcast videos of the creature helping silently, without hesitation. People who had never believed the creature could be gentle now saw proof with their own eyes. From that day onward, everything changed. The dragon became a symbol not of fear, but of hope. It became an example of how something neglected, misunderstood, and rejected could still shine if given a chance. Schools taught children about it as a story of second chances. Artists painted murals. Scientists used its case to teach about understanding unknown species instead of judging them too quickly. The xenobiologist watched all of this with quiet pride. She had believed in the creature long before anyone else. Now the world was finally seeing what she had seen from the start. Her bond with the dragon grew deeper, built on trust and patience. The creature followed her voice more than any other command. It moved gently around her, lowering its head whenever she approached, as if acknowledging that she had saved its life. The facility continued improving the dragon's habitat, giving it more freedom to move. Some days it flew short distances, and people would stop whatever they were doing to watch it glide above the fields. Its wings were old and scarred, but they still carried it through the air with quiet strength. Each flight reminded everyone that even old things could still rise. As time passed, the region became known for its guardian dragon. Visitors came to learn about it, scientists came to study it, and rescue teams around the world asked for guidance on working with such creatures. The dragon, once unwanted and feared, had become a treasured part of the community. And while the world changed around it, the creature remained gentle, calm, and loyal. It stayed close to the people who had finally given it a home. It continued helping in rescue missions, continued drawing crowds who admired its bravery, and continued proving that kindness could transform even the roughest beginnings. What happened after everyone rejected, it became a story told again and again. Not as a tale of a monster, but as a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected hero is the one no one believed in at first. And the dragon, old and scarred, yet full of silent strength, lived the rest of its days not as a menace, but as a guardian who finally found the place where it belonged.